Alright, now let's really talk about this purple build on Baxia, because this setup actually changes how people should look at him as a roamer, not just as a frontliner that rolls in and out, but as a constant pressure machine that suffocates sustain, punishes positioning, and forces the enemy team to play uncomfortable for the entire game.
First thing you need to understand is that Baxia as a hero already breaks the rules of normal tanking. His passive reducing enemy HP and shield regeneration, his mobility with rolling, and the way he sticks to targets means he doesn't play like a stand still and soak damage tank. He's a disruptor. This purple build leans fully into that identity. Every single item here either amplifies anti-heal, burns max HP, or punishes enemies for daring to hit you. That's why it works so well specifically on Baxia as a roamer.
Dominance Ice is the backbone of this build, and honestly, one of the most disgusting items you can put on Baxia. The hybrid defense is already perfect, because as a roamer, you're always the first one in, eating mixed damage from both mage and marksman. The movement speed might look small on paper, but on Baxia it's huge, because movement speed directly translates into faster rotations, quicker engages, and tighter body blocking when you're zoning. The real power, though, is Fortress Shield and Life Bane. Baxia loves being in the middle of fights, and Fortress Shield literally rewards you for that. The more enemy heroes around you, the tankier you become. In a 5v5 clash, you're basically gaining free defenses just for doing your job. And then Life Bane stacks perfectly with Baxia's own kit. When enemies hit you, their shield and HP regen get cut. That means fighters, lifesteal marksmen, sustain junglers, and even shield-heavy supports immediately feel useless when you roll into them. As a roamer, this is insane value, because you're not just protecting your team, you're actively deleting the enemy's win condition.
Then you add Glowing Wand, and this is where people start getting confused until they see it in action. Baxia doesn't need burst magic damage. He needs damage that keeps ticking while he sticks to enemies, and Glowing Wand is exactly that. The extra HP makes you tankier, the movement speed stacks beautifully with your rolling playstyle, and the magic power actually scales your burn. Scorch burning based on max HP is disgusting on Baxia because you're constantly dealing magic damage just by existing near enemies. You roll in, you collide, you use skills, and suddenly everyone is burning. Against tanks, bruisers, and high HP heroes, this is free value. On top of that, Glowing Wand also has Life Bane, meaning now you're stacking anti-heal effects constantly. This is important because Baxia's role as a roamer is not to kill, but to make sure the enemy cannot sustain through fights. With Dominance Ice and Glowing Wand together, anyone you touch basically loses their healing identity. Fighters can't lifesteal, supports can't heal properly, and shield-based heroes start panicking.
Athena's shield comes in as the stabilizer of this build. As a roamer, you don't get to choose your fights. You dive first, you face-check bushes, you absorb mage combos meant for your core. Athena's shield ensures that when you roll into a mage-heavy comp or eat a full combo, you don't instantly melt. The massive HP and magic defense already make you bulky, but the real value is the damage reduction passive. Baxia doesn't disengage easily once he commits, so having a window where magic damage is reduced lets you stay in fights longer, keep applying burns, keep applying anti-heal, and keep zoning carries away from objectives. This is especially important in late game, where one mage combo can decide the match. Athena gives you consistency and confidence to engage without fear.
Blade armor is where this build becomes mentally oppressive for marksmen. Baxia already wants enemies to hit him, and blade armor punishes them hard for doing so. High physical defense plus crit damage reduction makes crit-based marksmen miserable, but the passive reflect damage and slow, that's where it gets evil. When a marksman hits you, they take damage back based on your physical defense, and they get slowed. Baxia sticking to a slowed marksman while they're burning from Glowing Wand and suffering anti-heal is a nightmare scenario. As a roamer, this lets you peel and dive at the same time. You can stand in front of your carry and punish the enemy marksman, or you can roll straight into the backline and force them to reposition or die slowly. Either way, blade armor makes sure you're never a free target.
Justice is to heart.
Now, Blood Wings at the end might look greedy, but on Baxia it actually completes the purple identity of this build. The magic power increases your glowing wand burn and overall magic damage, making you more threatening the longer fights go. But the real reason is the shield. An 800+ scaling shield on a tanky hero like Baxia is huge. That shield gives you movement speed while it's active, and even more speed when it breaks. This means you're faster during engages, harder to burst, and even better at chasing or disengaging after absorbing damage. As a roamer, movement speed is power. It decides whether you arrive first at a fight, whether you catch someone rotating, and whether you can block escapes. Blood Wings turns Baxia into a rolling wall that just doesn't stop coming.
When you put all of this together, this purple build turns Baxia into a roaming debuff machine. You're not there to one-shot anyone. You're there to apply constant pressure. You roll into fights, stack defenses from Dominance Ice, burn everyone with Glowing Wand, shut down healing with Double Life Bane, reflect damage with Blade Armor, absorb Magic Burst with Athena Shield, and then get another layer of protection and speed from Blood Wings. The enemy team feels like they're fighting a hero that never truly dies, never truly leaves, and never lets them play comfortably. In rotations, this build shines even more. Baxia can invade, pressure side lanes, escort his jungler, and contest objectives without needing babysitting. Turtle fights become your playground because you thrive in clustered fights. Lord fights become chaotic for the enemy because they can't ignore you, but focusing you doesn't work either. You're constantly rolling through them, cutting sustain, burning HP, and forcing bad decisions.
This purple build doesn't make Baxia flashy, but it makes him terrifying in a slow, unavoidable way. You don't win by killing everyone fast. You win by dragging the enemy into long fights where their sustain disappears, their carries get punished, and their frontline can't outlast you. As a roamer, that's exactly what Baxia wants to be.
In solo rank, the biggest problem is inconsistency. You don't know if your damage dealers will position well, you don't know if your jungler will take objectives on time, and you definitely don't know if your team will follow your engage. So a roamer that only works when teammates cooperate perfectly is already weak in solo queue. This is exactly why this Baxia build works so well. It doesn't need perfect follow-up. It creates value just by existing in the right places.
In solo rank, sustain heroes are everywhere. Fighters with lifesteal, junglers that rely on spell vamp, supports that heal non-stop, and even marksmen that build lifesteal early. This build directly attacks that meta. With Dominance Ice and Glowing Wand combined, plus Baxia's own passive, you're stacking anti-heal on top of anti-heal. That means even if your teammates are behind, the enemy can't just out-sustain fights and snowball easily. In solo rank, many players rely on brute-forcing fights with healing. You shut that down completely. The moment you roll into a fight, their comfort disappears.
Your early game impact decides everything. Baxia with this build excels at early pressure. You don't need kills to win early game. You invade, you disturb, you force recalls, you slow down rotations. Dominance Ice early already makes you tanky enough to walk into enemy jungle with confidence. Even if your jungler doesn't follow, you're still wasting enemy time. In solo rank, wasting enemy time is huge. Every second their jungler spends chasing you or backing off is a second your lanes breathe. Let's talk about objectives, because this is where roamers truly carry. In solo rank, objective fights are chaotic. People arrive late, ultimates are wasted, positioning is messy. Baxia thrives in chaos. At turtle fights, you roll straight into the enemy backline, forcing their maid or marksman to reposition. You don't need to kill them, you just need them to stop hitting turtle or lord.
While they're dealing with you, your jungler gets the objective. Even if your jungler is average, you're making their job easier by removing pressure.
Another underrated aspect is mental pressure. Baxia with this build is annoying, truly annoying. Enemies feel like they're hitting a wall that hits back, burns them, and refuses to die. In solo rank, frustration leads to overcommits. Overcommits lead to bad dives, split positioning, and reckless chasing. You capitalize on that just by staying alive and staying close.
Even when your teammates don't follow your engage, you're still getting value. You're applying anti-heal, slowing carries, soaking ultimates, and breaking formations. And when they do follow, even a little, fights suddenly become unwinnable for the enemy because they're already debuffed before the real damage starts.
That's why this purple Baxia roamer build is so effective in solo rank. It doesn't rely on trust. It doesn't rely on coordination. It relies on pressure, consistency, and punishment. You don't need perfect teammates.
Baxia is one of those heroes that can genuinely carry games without needing to get kills. But solo rank always has that one problem you can't fully control: random teammates. You can be winning the map, winning rotations, winning objectives, and still lose the game because not everyone follows the same plan. Baxia does his job by creating pressure, cutting healing, and forcing the enemy to react to him. When you roll into fights, soak ultimates, and push enemies away from objectives, you're already carrying in the most important way. The issue is that Baxia's value depends on follow-up, and in solo rank, that follow-up isn't always there.
If you made it all the way until here, you are a real supporter, and I truly appreciate every bit of the support. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment telling me what you think about this purple Baxia build, and which hero you want me to play next. I'll see you in the next video.